Before I get into the actual video, I just want to preface it with a statement. I adore the Quarry's werewolf designs. Yes, they're pretty far from traditional werewolves, what with their lack of fur and disturbingly round head shapes. But damn it, I don't care at all. They're strange, different, scary as hell, and you can't take your eyes off of them. For any flaws the game might have, the moment that Nick wolfs out is full stop iconic. It's the kind of scene that puts the player on tilt, forcing them to question all of their expectations and realize that they've got no idea what's coming next. Magnificent. That said, I suspect that the monster design of the werewolves was done well after the game's script was written, likely even well after all of the motion capture footage was shot. Why do I think this? Because the monster's design creates a fairly large plot hole in the game, effectively breaking the narrative at a key moment. You might already know the scene I'm talking about. It's here, after Chris has been killed, where Laura and Travis can finally team up to deal with their common enemy, Silas. And what triggers that team up? The following exchange of dialogue.
He'd been long gone from the area, but we hoped he'd come back so we could end this. Anyway, there's sightings up and down the coast. A feral albino child, giant white wolf.
White wolf?
What? What'd you say? Where?
Where'd you see it?
Hey, let him go!
At the cabins earlier tonight.
Okay.
Travis mentions a giant white wolf, Ryan says he saw it that night, and Laura knows where to find its lair. These are the 3 pieces that they need to unlock the final showdown. Except one of those pieces didn't actually happen. Ryan mentioned seeing a giant white wolf by the cabins earlier that night. He's obviously talking about this sequence where he sees a werewolf creeping around outside. So what's the problem? It's twofold, actually. First, the werewolf he sees is neither huge nor white. Second, why should he think this werewolf is the one they're talking about when he should have 100% believed that this werewolf is the now dead Kaylee? Let's examine what Ryan experiences. He sees a werewolf outside the storage shed, creeping off in the direction of the cabins. 5 minutes later, a werewolf either attacks those cabins or mauls Dylan by grabbing him through the roof of the storage shed. Then that werewolf gets scared off by the loud feedback from the speakers, and like 90 seconds later, Kaylee Werewolf is shot to death by Laura. Given that timeline and sequence of events, Ryan should absolutely believe that all 3 of those interactions were with the same werewolf. I can't imagine a reason why he wouldn't. Honestly, the real sequence of events, Silas was wandering around, then Caleb attacks Dylan or the cabins, and then Kaylee gets shot, is so contrived and convoluted as to be absolutely preposterous. I understand the reasoning for it. If Kaylee was the one who mauled Dylan, he'd be instantly cured when Laura kills her. But couldn't they have cut this down by one wolf and have Silas be the one who mauls Dylan or attacks the cabin? Since Caleb can't be killed until endgame, it's not like that would have changed the storyline at all. And yes, there is evidence that Kaylee isn't the one who bit Dylan, because he later wolfs out despite the fact that she's dead. Only, Ryan never learns about that happening, because he's long since gone off to Hackett Manor with Laura. So at this moment, during the pivotal conversation, Ryan should have no information to offer, because he should think that the wolf he saw, the wolf that Laura killed, was Kaylee. It's clear what the developers were going for here. They wanted Silas to have a unique look to him, like the white werewolf from the famous Judge Dredd story arc, Cry of the Werewolf. We can see some version of the intention in the white werewolf box art, which depicts him as chalk white against a black background. As amazing as the Quarry's werewolves are, they have one drawback in that it's not super easy to tell them apart. Let's do a little quiz. Here's a shot of each of the game's werewolves, with me using iffy Photoshop skills to remove them from their environments and put them in black and white so that the color of light doesn't offer any clues. I put up pictures of Chris, Laura, Max, Nick, Jacob, Emma, Caleb, and Silas. Can you tell which wolf is which? I'll give you a few seconds, and you can pause if you really want to try to figure this out. Ready for the answer? Did you get any right? If you did, was it guesswork or because you've played the game enough to be able to identify them? It really doesn't matter, because Ryan didn't have the opportunity to pause and study Silas as he walked past for a few seconds. These werewolves have a great design, but the individual wolves just aren't visually unique. If they'd been able to pursue the albino angle and make the Silas monster huge and white, that would have at least been something. But his stature isn't meaningfully different than all of the other werewolves. And while giving him a different skin tone would seem like an easy solution matching the whole white fur concept, the lighting in the game is so realistically dark once the sun goes down that subtle differences like that would be nearly impossible to notice. Here's a close-up of his skin tone, and here's Max's under the same basic lighting conditions. Were you able to tell that I'd flipped the images and put Max's skin first? I suspect that the change to wolf design happened after the actors had already filmed all of their scenes, because once that had happened, they were completely locked into the white wolf narrative, as redoing a bunch of dialogue can get expensive very quickly. If the change had come before the script was filmed, this wouldn't have been too difficult of a fix to make. Just give Silas a deformity. Say that one of the early hunts after Caleb bit Kaylee and Chris, they almost managed to kill Silas, blowing off part of his face with a silver-loaded shotgun, destroying one of his eyes and tearing off his ear. That would have made the Silas wolf instantly and memorably identifiable. He could have turned and looked right at Ryan before scampering off into the bushes, and his missing eye and ear would have no doubt stuck with Ryan for the rest of the night. Oh, they could have even deepened the tragedy by saying that they were originally 4 Hackett siblings, and another sister or brother was killed blasting Silas, which would just add more horror to lay onto Travis, increasing his conflict and reinforcing the idea that he's already lost so much trying to look out for his family. And getting half of his face blown off would have given Silas a hell of a motivation to flee the area for a few years, and only now he's just come back because he feels like it finally might be safe. Okay, that's enough. At this point I'm just writing Quarry fanfiction, and as fun as that might be, it's not why we're here. No. We're here to acknowledge that there's a huge plot problem right at the end of the Quarry, but since it was caused by an attempt to do something really innovative with werewolf design, we can't really hold it against Supermassive Games. I've been the Hidden Object Guru, thanks for watching. If you had a good time and you'd like to see more, there's buttons coming up to help with that. Questions, suggestions, go in the comments section below the video. If you have any ideas for topics we should cover, put them there. Buy Dracula Defense. It's a good game. Well, good adjacent. We'll see you back here for more Dark Pictures content, but until then I'll say that's right. Au revoir.